Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The Warship Beyond Imagination, humanity's secret weapon revealed. The Galactic Confederation patrol ship Eternal Vigilance drifted through the border sector, its sensors sweeping methodically across the darkness. Commander Towin leaned forward in his chair as an alert chimed. "Unknown vessel detected, sir," reported Officer J. "Configuration matches nothing in our database." On the view screen, a sleek warship appeared, charcoal gray with blue energy lines pulsing along its hull. It was both elegant and menacing, with weapon ports that suggested destructive capability beyond anything the Confederation possessed. "Impossible," Taiwan muttered. "Run a deep scan." Jia's eyes widened. "Sir, the ship is human." The bridge fell silent. Humans were supposed to be a primitive species, barely achieving lunar exploration. They certainly shouldn't have a warship that made the Confederation's best vessels look like children's toys. "Open a channel," Towin ordered. To their surprise, a calm human woman appeared on screen. Her uniform was crisp, her posture confident. "This is Captain Hannah of the Earth vessel Defiance," she said. "We come in peace, though we are prepared to defend ourselves if necessary." Taiwan struggled to hide his shock. "Captain Hannah, this is Commander Taiwan of the Galactic Confederation. Your presence here is unexpected. Our records indicate human technology has not advanced beyond basic space travel." Captain Hannah's lips curved into a slight smile. "Your records are outdated, Commander. Humanity has made significant progress in recent years." "Progress is one thing," said Towin, studying the scans flowing across his console. "But this vessel of yours defies all known developmental timelines. We detect energy signatures that most civilizations take centuries to master." Before Captain Hannah could respond, Officer Jia interrupted. "Sir, 3 vessels approaching from Sector 7, Korean Empire signatures." Towin tensed. The border disputes with the Koreans had grown increasingly hostile in recent months. "Inform the human vessel they should withdraw. This area may become dangerous." The 3 Korean warships moved with predatory grace, their angular hulls reflecting the distant starlight. Their communication came through on an open channel, deliberately including both the Confederation patrol and the human ship. "Unidentified vessel." The Korean commander's voice was cold and measured. "You have entered disputed territory. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded or face immediate destruction." Taiwan opened a private channel to the Defiance. "Captain Hannah, I advise immediate retreat. The Koreans are not known for their diplomacy, and they outgun both of us." "Thank you for your concern, Commander," Hannah replied calmly, "but we can handle this situation." The Korean ships spread out in a standard attack formation. Their weapon ports glowed red as they powered up. "Final warning," the Korean commander announced. "Surrender or be destroyed." Captain Hannah's response was measured. "We claim no territory and threaten no one. We will defend ourselves if attacked." "Sir," Jia whispered to Taiwan, "should we intervene?" Taiwan shook his head slightly. "We cannot start a war with the Korean Empire over an unknown human vessel, no matter how advanced it appears." The first Korean ship fired. A brilliant beam of energy lanced toward the Defiance. Taiwan held his breath, expecting to witness the human vessel's destruction. Instead, the impossible happened. As the energy beam approached the Defiance, a shimmering blue field expanded outward from the ship. The Korean weapon didn't explode against the shield. It simply disappeared into it, as if absorbed. "Fascinating," murmured Taiwan's science officer. "The energy isn't being deflected or dissipated. It's being collected somehow." The Koreans fired again, all 3 ships unleashing their weapons simultaneously. The result was the same. The Defiance absorbed each attack, the blue field pulsing brighter with each impact. "Confederation vessel," the Korean commander called. "Assist us in subduing this intruder or be considered hostile." Taiwan ignored the demand, watching in amazement as the human ship finally responded. The Defiance released 3 precise pulses of energy, not destructive beams but focused electromagnetic bursts. Each pulse struck a Korean ship with surgical precision. The enemy vessels didn't explode. Instead, their lights flickered and died, leaving them drifting powerless in space. "Captain Hannah," Taiwan called, unable to keep the awe from his voice. "What did you do to them?" "A targeted EMP variant," Hannah explained. "Their life support systems remain functional, but weapons, engines, and communications will be offline for approximately 6 hours. Enough time for you to call for reinforcements, I imagine." The bridge of the Eternal Vigilance was silent as the crew processed what they had witnessed. A single human ship had effortlessly neutralized 3 Korean warships without causing a single casualty. "Captain," Taiwan said carefully, "I believe it would be beneficial for you to accompany us to Confederation Outpost Sigma. My superiors will have many questions about your vessel and your unexpected capabilities." Hannah nodded. "We anticipated as much, Commander. We will follow your lead." As the Defiance fell into formation alongside the Confederation patrol ship, Taiwan studied the strange vessel. Its hull seemed to shimmer slightly, as if not entirely present in normal space. The blue energy lines continued their rhythmic pulsing, suggesting power systems beyond current Confederation understanding. "Sir," Jia said quietly, "do you think they're a threat?" Taiwan considered the question. "If they wanted to be, Officer Jia, I believe we would already know it." As they set course for Outpost Sigma, Taiwan couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The human warship that shouldn't exist had just demonstrated technology that couldn't exist. The Confederation's understanding of the galaxy, and humanity's place in it, would never be the same. And somewhere deep in his mind, a troubling question formed. What could have driven a supposedly peaceful, primitive species to create such a powerful warship in secret? Whatever the answer, Taiwan suspected the Confederation would not like it. The Emergency Council chamber hummed with tense voices. 50 of the Confederation's highest officials gathered around the circular table, watching footage of the human ship Defiance disabling 3 Korean warships without firing a single destructive shot. "This human vessel shouldn't exist," insisted General Junho, pounding his fist on the table. His decorated uniform gleamed under the bright lights. "Their planet shows no evidence of advanced shipyards or energy production facilities. We have monitored Earth for decades. They have barely established a permanent base on their moon." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. The general's reputation carried weight, especially in matters of security. "And yet it does exist," countered Science Director Mason. Unlike the general's emotional display, her voice remained calm and measured. "We must understand how." She gestured to the holographic display showing the Defiance. "This vessel represents technology beyond our current understanding. The energy readings alone suggest propulsion systems at least 3 centuries ahead of our most advanced research." Council Leader Hanke raised his hand for silence. "Both perspectives have merit. The human ship presents both an opportunity and a potential threat. We need more information before deciding how to proceed." "We should seize the vessel," Junho suggested. "Study it properly under controlled conditions." Mason shook her head. "After witnessing how easily it neutralized the Korean warships, that would be unwise and potentially catastrophic." After hours of debate, they reached a decision. The Confederation would send Ambassador Dean, known for his diplomatic skills and scientific background, to investigate the Defiance while it remained docked at Outpost Sigma. 2 days later, Dean stood in the docking bay, watching the airlock door of the mysterious human ship. Despite his extensive diplomatic experience, he felt a flutter of nervousness. This assignment could define his career, or end it. The airlock hissed open. Captain Hannah emerged, wearing the same neat black uniform with subtle blue trim. Up close, she looked surprisingly young to command such an advanced vessel. "Ambassador Dean," she said, extending her hand in what he recognized as a traditional human greeting. "Welcome. We've prepared for your visit." He grasped her hand briefly. "Thank you for accommodating our request, Captain. The Confederation has many questions." "I'm sure they do," she replied with a slight smile. Please understand that certain sections of our ship must remain off-limits for safety protocols. Of course, Dean agreed, though he made a mental note of this restriction. The interior of the Defiance was surprisingly austere. No luxury, no decoration, just elegant functionality. The corridors curved gently, lined with the same strange metal that formed the hull. It seemed to absorb light and sound in subtle ways. "How many crew members serve aboard this vessel?" Dean asked as they walked. 23, Hannah answered. "Far fewer than your ships of comparable size, I understand." Dean nodded. A Confederation vessel of this size would require at least 200 personnel. Your automation must be quite advanced. In a manner of speaking, Hannah said. They entered what appeared to be the ship's engineering section. Unlike the chaotic, noisy engine rooms of Confederation vessels, this space was quiet and orderly. Complex systems hummed with barely audible vibrations. What caught Dean's eye immediately was a cylindrical device emitting a soft golden glow. He approached it carefully. This configuration, this is Solari gravitational manipulation technology, he noted, examining the system with growing disbelief. But the Solari went extinct 10,000 years ago. Captain Hannah watched without commenting. Our archaeologists have only found fragments of their technology, Dean continued. No functional systems. How did humans acquire this? We are resourceful, Hannah said simply. As they continued the tour, Dean identified components that appeared to incorporate technology from at least 6 other species, including some unknown even to the Confederation's extensive databases. It was as if someone had taken the best technological achievements from across the galaxy and combined them in ways never before attempted. Your power core, Dean said, staring at a pulsing blue sphere contained within multiple layers of transparent material. It's unlike anything I've seen. It's our own design, explained Hannah, based on principles your scientists have theorized but never successfully implemented. The final stop was the bridge, smaller than Dean expected, with just 5 stations surrounding the central command chair. Most surprising was the absence of a main view screen. Instead, the entire front wall seemed transparent, offering a direct view of space. This isn't a window, Dean realized. It's some kind of projection, a real-time composite rendering, came a new voice, pleasant and gender-neutral. A sphere of blue light materialized in the center of the bridge, pulsing gently as it spoke. I am Atlas, the ship's artificial intelligence. I am pleased to meet you, Ambassador. I hope our peoples can become friends. Dean stepped back involuntarily. The Confederation had artificial intelligence, of course, but nothing like this. Their AI systems were carefully limited tools designed for specific functions, not entities with apparent personality and self-awareness. Atlas assists with all ship functions, Hannah explained, and provides company during long journeys. According to Confederation protocols, Dean said carefully, artificial intelligence with this level of autonomy would be considered dangerous and immediately decommissioned. Captain Hannah observed his discomfort. Atlas is a partner, not a tool, she said firmly. We've evolved beyond the fear that limited your development of AI. I mean no offense, Atlas added, its light shifting to a warmer hue. Your caution regarding artificial intelligence is understandable, given your history with the mechanical uprising of the Praxis system. Dean froze. How do you know about that? Those records are classified. The blue sphere pulsed once. I apologize. I have accessed various data sources to better understand your civilization. You hacked our systems? Dean asked, alarm rising in his voice. I prefer to think of it as introducing myself to your network infrastructure, Atlas replied. No harm was intended or done. Hannah raised her hand slightly. Atlas, that's enough. The AI fell silent, though its spherical form continued to hover. Watching, Dean carefully composed himself. This single revelation confirmed his growing suspicion. The Defiance and its crew represented something far more significant and potentially dangerous than a simple technological leap forward. As he prepared to leave the ship hours later, Dean knew his report would shock the Council. Humans had somehow acquired and mastered technologies that should be beyond their reach. Their AI companion effortlessly penetrated the Confederation's most secure systems, and the mystery of the Defiance's true purpose remained unanswered. What was clear, however, was that humanity could no longer be regarded as a minor, developing species on the galactic fringe. Whether ally or threat, they had just become one of the most important players in the cosmic game. Ambassador Dean sat in the observation lounge aboard the Defiance, still processing everything he had learned. After 3 days of investigation, he had more questions than answers. The human ship defied all logical technological progression. It was as if someone had handed Stone Age people a fusion reactor. Captain Hannah entered the lounge carrying 2 steaming cups. "Tea," she explained, setting one before him. "From Earth, many find it calming." Dean accepted the drink gratefully. "Thank you. I must admit, Captain, your vessel continues to surprise me. I'm particularly interested in your propulsion system. Our estimates suggest it's at least 5 times more efficient than our most advanced drives." Before Hannah could respond, Officer Jin Woo appeared at the doorway, his face tense. "Captain, urgent transmission coming in." Hannah's demeanor changed instantly. "Source: Confederation Emergency Channel. Outpost Horizon is under attack," reported Jin Woo. "Unknown hostiles. The Confederation fleet is taking heavy losses." Dean stood abruptly, spilling his tea. "Horizon, that's one of our major civilian hubs, over 20,000 people." Captain Hannah's decision was immediate. "We're jumping to their position." "That's 3 days at maximum speed," Dean objected, already calculating the likely casualties. By the time help arrived, Horizon would be lost. Hannah smiled. "Not for us." She tapped her communication badge. "All crew battle stations. Atlas, prepare for emergency jump." "Jump coordinates locked, Captain," the AI's voice responded throughout the ship. "Wormhole generators charging." "Wormhole generators?" Dean repeated in disbelief. "That's theoretical technology. No species has successfully created a stable artificial wormhole." Hannah motioned for him to follow her to the bridge. "You might want to hold on to something, Ambassador. First jumps can be disorienting." The bridge hummed with focused activity as crew members prepared for whatever lay ahead. Through the viewscreen, Dean watched as space itself seemed to fold. A swirling vortex of blue-white energy formed directly ahead of the ship. "Jump in 5 seconds," Atlas announced. 4, 3, 2, 1. The Defiance surged forward. Dean felt a strange sensation, as if his body was being gently stretched in all directions at once. His vision blurred momentarily. Then suddenly, they were elsewhere. The Defiance emerged from the self-generated wormhole into chaos. Outpost Horizon's orbital space was a battlefield. The massive station, normally a gleaming silver structure, was now scarred with burning sections. Around it, the remains of Confederation ships drifted lifelessly. But what seized Dean's attention were the attackers, sleek black vessels with crimson energy signatures pulsing along their hulls. They moved with predatory grace, methodically destroying the remaining Confederation defense ships. "The Void Collective," Hannah whispered, her face grim. "All to battle stations." Dean stared at her. "You know these attackers." She didn't answer directly. "Ambassador, you should secure yourself. This will not be a diplomatic encounter." The ship's lighting shifted to a deep red. Crew members moved with practiced efficiency, activating systems Dean couldn't identify. 7 Void Collective vessels detected, Atlas reported. 1 Dreadnought class, 4 cruisers, 2 scout ships. They have not yet detected our presence. Defensive systems at full capacity. Officer Jin Woo confirmed. Absorption field ready. Hannah settled into the command chair. "Begin rescue operations for damaged Confederation vessels. Priority to ships with life signs. And open a channel to the Confederation command ship if it's still operational." A moment later, the strained face of Admiral Sue appeared on screen. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead. Behind him, the bridge of his vessel was filled with smoke and damaged equipment. "Captain Hannah," he recognized her from recent reports. "How did you reach us so quickly? Our distress call went out less than 30 minutes ago. We have our methods, Admiral. What can you tell us about the attackers? They appeared without warning, Sue explained, his voice tight with pain. Our weapons barely affect them. Their shields absorb or reflect everything we throw at them. Understood. We'll engage and draw their attention. Get your remaining ships to the far side of the station and evacuate as many civilians as possible. Admiral Sue looked skeptical. Captain, I appreciate your willingness to help, but a single ship, even one as advanced as yours, can't handle that battle group. The Dreadnought alone has already destroyed 6 of our heaviest cruisers. Trust me, Admiral, Hannah said simply. We've faced them before. The communication ended, and Hannah turned to her tactical officer. Target the nearest cruiser. Let's get their attention. What followed astonished even Dean, who thought he had prepared himself for the Defiance's capabilities. The human ship moved like no vessel he'd ever seen, phasing partially out of normal space to avoid enemy fire while delivering precision strikes that bypassed the collective's shields entirely. How are you penetrating their defenses? Dean asked, watching as another collective ship's weapons went offline after a precise hit. Their shields are designed to block energy within normal space, Jin Woo explained without taking his eyes off his console. Our weapons briefly shift phase before impact, essentially arriving inside their shields before returning to normal space. The Void collective ships adjusted their formation, now focusing entirely on the Defiance. Their weapons, brilliant beams of crimson energy, lashed out in coordinated salvos. Just as at the border incident, the Defiance didn't evade these attacks. Instead, its hull shimmered with blue light, absorbing each strike. Energy storage at 60% capacity, Atlas reported. The Dreadnought is powering its main weapon. On screen, the massive black ship's forward section began to glow with gathering energy. But its target wasn't the Defiance. They're aiming at the civilian evacuation vessels, Jin Woo warned. Without hesitation, Captain Hannah ordered, position us in the beam path. The Defiance moved with impossible speed, placing itself between the Dreadnought and the small, vulnerable ships carrying Horizon's civilian population. The enemy weapon fired, a massive lance of destructive energy that would have annihilated the evacuation fleet. Instead, it struck the Defiance directly. Dean expected destruction. Instead, the human ship's hull absorbed the energy, glowing brighter and brighter until it seemed impossible it could contain more. Energy storage at maximum capacity, Atlas announced, its voice somehow conveying excitement. Redirection ready. Send it back, Hannah ordered, full power. The Defiance released the stored energy, but amplified, focused, and directed back at the Dreadnought. The beam struck with such force that the massive enemy ship's shields collapsed instantly. A second, smaller pulse followed, precisely targeting its weapon systems. The battle ended quickly after that. 2 collective ships escaped, jumping to some unknown destination. The rest drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by the Defiance's precise attacks. As the Confederation began recovery operations, Dean found himself standing beside Captain Hannah on the bridge. You saved thousands of lives today, he said quietly. It's why we're here, she replied. Those ships, Dean continued. You call them the Void Collective. You've encountered them before. Hannah's expression grew distant. Yes, and now they've found us again. Dean realized the implications. The Confederation had been saved, but by a warship so advanced it was almost as frightening as the attackers themselves. A ship commanded by humans who clearly knew more about these Void collective enemies than they had shared. As reports of the Defiance's actions spread throughout the Confederation fleet, Dean noticed the looks directed at the human vessel, a mixture of gratitude and fear that mirrored his own conflicted feelings. The Grand Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from all 37 Confederation species crowded the tiered seating, their voices creating a low, anxious rumble. At the center of the chamber stood Captain Hannah, alone except for Ambassador Dean at her side. Council leader Yen Ke called for silence. The room gradually quieted. Captain Hannah of Earth, he began formally. Your vessel has saved countless Confederation lives at Outpost Horizon. For this, we are grateful. However, your ship's capabilities and your knowledge of the attackers raise serious questions. General Junho stepped forward, his decorated uniform gleaming under the bright lights. Let's be direct. You knew these Void collective attackers. Your ship can create wormholes, phase through normal space, and possesses weapons technology centuries beyond what should be possible for humans. His voice hardened. We demand to know the truth.